Dr. Chao, Wednesday morning, we're expecting that Andrew Luck is going to practice for the Indianapolis Colts for the first time this season, like officially practice, been throwing a little bit. This is about what you thought?
Well, you know, the key was always the benchmark was going to be when was he going to practice. To me, it was silly to talk about when he was going to play if he hadn't practiced. And typically after this type of injury, you need up to a month of rehab of throwing practice, not just throwing in rehab, but throwing in practice.
Football type of throws, football moves.
Right, because you know, when being a quarterback is not a static position. You're not throwing from a mound and that's it. You're throwing on the run, and you have footwork, and you have other plays, and you have reads, and it's live action. It's not like when you begin the windup, you know where you're going to throw the pitch or shoot the ball. It changes because of player reactions and so forth. So it's a much more dynamic and fluid process. Therefore, there's no substitute for practice. That's why we've been saying all along, we weren't wishing Andrew Luck ill will. It was just factually, when he hadn't practiced as of the beginning of the season, we were saying he's not going to play in the month of September, just from a practical matter.
So now the reports are that the Colts are optimistic 2 to 3 weeks after he starts practicing. So he's going to be practicing in week 4. Could go, gosh, week 5? No, I'm thinking, based on what I'm hearing from you, more like week 6, week 7.
Well, you know, I think everyone wants to be optimistic, and, you know, once you get him back, it'll be, when is he ready, when is he ready, and he's going to make some good throws in practice, and everyone's going to think he's ready, but this is their franchise guy. They're going to be safe with him. Maybe he can get ready in 2 to 3 weeks. It's not impossible, I mean, to speed up the timeline some, but a month is typical. Maybe he'll be a little bit sooner, and I hope that's the case, and I hope he's 100% healthy and no issues.
Let's talk about 2 other quarterbacks, 1 team.
And by the way, the Colts did not err with this PUP stuff. This was their plan all along.
Just like the doctor, to make sure, make it clear about the other doctors. They didn't mess up.
Well, and you know, ultimately it's the GM and the coaches that make the decision on the PUP, but the reason why he didn't go on PUP is even if he doesn't play the first 6 games, if he were on PUP, he wouldn't be able to even practice, which would push it back even further. So this is a reasonable timeline for a quarterback not going on PUP, and they didn't make a mistake. This was calculated all along.
Okay. Another fluid situation, and it has to do with a quarterback who was on PUP. Minnesota Vikings, Sam Bradford. Rather than me go through all the twists and turns of what's been going on with Sam Bradford, what's the latest, and what do you think is going to happen with the Vikings quarterback?
Well, the bottom line is it's now been confirmed as a bone bruise. And that is already somewhat ominous because you cannot rush a bone bruise. It's not a play-through pain injury, potential long-term issue, so you need to be careful. He went and got a second opinion, and I believe Jay Glazer said it was, quote, a deep bone bruise, which might mean more significant. And the announcements now are that Mike Zimmer, Coach Zimmer, doesn't know when his quarterback will practice, and that starts to sound familiar to what the Colts situation was, right? So bone bruise, they're saying day-to-day, but it's more of a week-to-week, maybe month type thing.
Okay, so now it's sounding to me, as well as maybe Case Keenum played against the Buccaneers, it's starting to seem to me that the Teddy Bridgewater situation could come into play. He began the season on PUP. At the 6-week mark, he can begin practicing. I
would certainly hope that Bradford is back well before Teddy Bridgewater, because after 6 weeks, Teddy can start to practice.
Right.
And admittedly, it's not his throwing shoulder, but with how long he's been out, he's not going to be ready week 7. And I'm hoping that Bradford will be back in the next couple of weeks. And we've quoted articles and other people before, other Des Bryant, Ben Roethlisberger, that have been in that 3-4 week window with the bone bruise. That's more of what I'm expecting here for Sam.
Now with Teddy Bridgewater, who early on, or it was actually, it was in the preseason, but it was in a training camp practice, ACL, other ligament damage, dislocated his knee. It was a severe injury that Teddy Bridgewater's coming back from. He'll be healthy when he starts to practice, but what do you see in terms of him getting into football activities?
Well, you know, it's one thing to be healthy to do my job. It's another to be healthy to play in the NFL. And there requires some reacclimation. Even if he wasn't injured and was just out of football for a long period of time, there's some reacclimation that's going to happen. And don't mistake it, Teddy Bridgewater, even though he likely will be ready to play this season, isn't going to be 100%. You know, he might be 95, and the last few percentage points take 6 months or more to really get back into the flow.
Okay. More information, profootballdoc.com.